Welcome back to our continuing build-up to the start of the Vendée Globe 2012, the 7th edition of the race they call the Everest of the Seas. This is Alec Wilkinson, and in half an hour the 20 boats of the fleet representing 6 countries will cross the start line on an odyssey that'll take them around the world, single-handed, non-stop and without assistance. The winner last time, by the way, took 84 days. In the studio with us is Dee Kafari, who sailed the 2008 Vendée Globe, and Alan Block, editor of Sailing Anarchy, and sailing writer Claire McNaughton, who takes us through the route now.
So here we are, the boats will be leaving Sable d'Olonne, coming down past the Cape of Good Hope, into the Southern Ocean, through the South Pacific, past the Cape Lewin, back down again, round Cape Horn, and then up through the doldrums into Le Sable d'Olonne. And so the race started in 1989, and the record then was 109 days, 8 hours, 48 minutes and 50 seconds. And the next year, Alain Gauthier, who is doing the live for the French website, he won the race in 110 days. The race numbers slowly dropped down after that. In 1996, Christopher Hogan ran it in 105 days, and then 2001, Mich Des managed to complete it in 93 days. In 2004, Vincent Rio knocked 5 days off his record and did it in 87, and then in 2008, Mich Des took it down to 84.
Claire, you know, it's interesting to talk about all these records, and obviously Mich Des setting that wonderful record, 84 days, and there's talk about, theoretically, if you did everything right, you could do it in 76 days. But do you think these skippers are actually thinking about a record?
No, I mean, I spoke to Bernard Stowe about it, and I'm like, what do you think about this 80 days, 76 days? He goes, I don't care if I do it in 105 days, as long as I'm the first person across the finish line, So to them, it's not really about records, it's just about finishing the course. I mean, the race is a behemoth, it's a difficult race to finish. And that ultimately has to be every skipper's goal, is just to complete the course. And yeah, there's some big talk out there, and there's some guys that have got a lot of form, and like Armel Leclerc, he says, I want to do better than second, so he set himself a precedent. But oh my God, look at that!
I mean, it is an absolute menagerie of boats. Historic boats. Joshua, Bernard Moitessier's boat that first around the world, along with Robin Knox Johnston's Sue Haley. It's like a museum for the Vendée Globe. Looking outside, Claire, what do you think of the weather? It seems like all that wind went away, doesn't it?
The wind seems to have gone, and it's it's raining. Although the France Météo is saying it's not going to rain actually as they cross the start line. But as far as I'm concerned, it's Vendée November. It's wet.
So the front that was forecast to come through hasn't hit yet, but obviously we're right in the very disturbed air at the beginning of it. We're just hoping that we get a nice breeze. It looks like the boats outside are moving pretty well.
As noticed, they've got full sails up, so whereas we saw PRB earlier on with a reef in, they've shaken that reef out, and they're sort of gathering, really sort of working out what they're going to do. They've still got their crews on. They haven't sealed their engines yet, I don't think. Well, some will have sealed their engines at the dock, and then others will seal them out at sea.
Listen, it's great to have someone in the booth that's actually done this procedure before, and you guys at home, we want to welcome you to the 2012 Vendée Globe from all over the world on YouTube and Daily Motion. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mr. Clean, and we're broadcasting you from the booth here on the channel at Les Sables. Now, looking outside, Dee, what do these skippers have to go through to get to that start line and then head off to sea?
Well, the hardest part has been done, that whole farewell, that departure from the dock, that emotion. And actually they're now where they wanted to be. They're out there, they're actually seeing what the wind's doing. So while we're looking at them sailing around, they're actually looking at the wind direction to see the consistency, to see any shifts, to look ahead at the cloud lines that are coming in to see what's actually going to happen. We saw when the boats were leaving that some of them were being towed and some of them were motoring under their own power. Now this is about sealing the engine. All these boats will have their engine sealed to prove that they aren't being used for propulsion during the race. And if the boats were being towed, they sealed them at the dock and had them checked and verified by the organisation. Those that chose to leave under their own power have taken the seals with them. They will seal them out at sea, and the organisation sends somebody on board to check them, and then they're good to go sailing and
Now, do they have to send someone into the water to do that, Dee?
No, it's actually in the engine itself. You seal the shaft to show that it's not turning. So it's an internal part of the engine. You take a photo, they come and check it and verify it, and then you're good to go and it's fine. And the props that they have are actually folding props. So they will have marked the shafts so that they fold with the propellers in the most streamlined position, and they're as hydrodynamic as possible.
So these boats have motors, but they can't use them. Now what happens if there's an emergency or they lose a mast? How does it work then?
If you're in an emergency situation and you need propulsion, so a lot of these engines are used for generating power but out of gear. So if you need propulsion for an emergency with another boat or your own safety, then you break the seal, you record it, and you report it straight away to the race office so that they have a record of it. You take photos, you put it in your log, and then you carry another seal so you can go back to the same position, reseal your engine, send the photographic proof, and go on your way again.
There's a lot of work involved in sailing these boats and changing things while you're at sea, huh?
It's a lot of honesty, and it is one of those honesty sports where, you know, we're in it for the passion and the dedication, and we're not going to shortchange ourselves by risking having something as simple as an engine seal let us down.
So we're just 23 minutes or so away from the start of the race. The format will basically, it hots up sort of 8 minutes in from the actual start, the actual gun. And as we have a look at these incredible boats, Hugo Boss, the British boat, sailed by Alex Thompson, 8 minutes is the first let's say strategic point of this start. It's what we're waiting for.
Yeah, it's a preparatory signal, and it's just you're in the countdown then, you're in the zone, and the crews know then that they've only got a 4-minute level to finish off all their jobs and actually depart the boat. So they say their farewells, they pat their main man or woman on the shoulder, give them the best of send-offs, and they jump off into the support rib, into the team rib, and at 4 minutes the skipper is then left on their own, and then it's about them performing. And they've got that 4-minute jostling for that ideal position to cross that start line. They get a 1-minute gun, and then they go hopefully at full speed across the start line, hoping not to preempt that start line gun by being over early.
It's sleek and beautiful, that Hugo Boss boat. It absolutely looks fantastic. Sails, how many have they got on board?
They're allowed by the rules to carry a maximum of 10 sails. Some of the boats out there are actually choosing to only take 9 with them, and the idea is you get the best combination so that you can cover every wind strength and every direction that it could possibly be. These boats, some of them are much better upwind, some of them much better downwind, some of them are pure reaching machines, so everyone's got their sweet spot. And what you want to do is get the sail that kind of gives you the best option throughout the other areas of points of sail as well for your boat. And they would have spent a lot of time recutting sails, changing them, getting the right overlap, so that what you want to do as a solo skipper is not have to keep changing your sails every wind shift, because you don't have a crew of 10 to do it for you. You're using up all your own energy. So you want a sail that gives a bit of leeway either side on direction and wind strength, so that you can make your boat go fast and not think, oh, I'm on the wrong sail again.
What are they trying to do there?
These boats, as they head out, they're all going to want to do what's called a back down. So they're going to want to just go backwards for a bit, clear any weed and rubbish they may have picked up in the channel, because they want to make sure the boats will have been dived on, their teams will have cleaned with them and polished them within an inch of their life below the waterline.
To make them faster, more streamlined.
That's right, you just don't want to carry a lump of weed, and even on the way round you pick up weed and kelp in different areas of the oceans, and you have to get rid of it because it slows you down on your rudders, on your keel, everything. And the odd fish wrapped around your rudders and keel, which is not a good look, and it's quite slow. So they're going to be doing this, they're going to be making sure they've folded the prop in the hydrodynamic position so that that's all sorted. So they want it in line with the boat in a vertical plane, not a horizontal plane. And now they will have put the mainsail up with a number of reefs so they could check all the reef positions the final last time. Most of the boats here look like they've gone to a full main, so they've gone through all their reef positions, they're happy. The boats are on a full main, and some of them are sailing around with a stay sail, which is just the smaller sail in front of the mast, just to get a feel for each tack, make sure they're happy with their autopilots, make sure they're happy with their compass headings, and the instruments are telling them what the weather's actually really doing, because it's great to see the instruments on the dock, but they want to know it's actually saying what's real out there.
And we're hoping to get a readout from some instruments about the weather forecast at some stage, but at the moment we're kind of guessing from the pictures, and they're wildly different, the shots, depending on what angle the camera's at, so it's quite difficult to work out how conditions are out there.
That's right, we can see this is a shot from the rib, and you can see the waves are pretty big there's a lot of boats around, and they're going to head out into some kind of head waves, and the other spectator boats are creating wash as well. And then you get some helicopter shots where it's obviously through the cloud where there's another band of rain coming in. So we're getting all the weather out there. You can see there the sky in the background, there's some bright spells. So the problem for the sailors...
better than when they set off this morning, isn't it?
It's definitely clearing up, that's for sure. But the problem for the sailors is all those clouds are going to have like bullets of wind in them, and it's going to be not reflective of what the tree wind out there is once they get a little way out the bay.
Do these guys, I mean, they're just sort of, bobbing around there at the moment, but when they get going, does each of the skippers have a different style?
It's interesting, at the start of a race, there's those that go off all guns blazing. I mean, what would be amazing is in the breeze, if it just fills back in a little bit, these boats are going to be off quite powerfully, and they're going to go and leave the spectator boat fleet behind really quickly, which is lovely, and we'll get some great shots of them sailing. But there are those that take some time to get into the routine of the race, and they take a while to settle down, and those first 48 hours are full on because you can't afford to be off the pace. You've got to stay with the leading pack. Looking ahead at the weather, there's going to be a ridge that's going to be quite difficult to negotiate just off Finisterre as they leave the Bay of Biscay, and they're going to want to be with the leading group when they get there. They don't want to be the ones left behind and negotiate that badly, so they're going to be looking ahead. They've got to get past the fishing boats.
A few of the skippers live there and sail there, so they'll know the waters.
Oh, well, there isn't anybody in this fleet that hasn't been around that corner several times and had a bit of a play, and will know a strategy they want for it. But they're going to be looking ahead, and they're going to be thinking of how they manage themselves, how they keep themselves hydrated, have fed themselves a little bit, and keep the boat at maximum power as they go into this first night, as well as thinking about when they're going to get a chance to have a rest, because you can't do the first 24 hours, however adrenaline fueled you are. And when you set off, you're going to see everybody for a long time, and as it gets dark, you start to just see the mast lights, and you work really hard trying to follow everybody's mast lights, and then there's one maneuver or one cloud, and you lose somebody and you don't see them again, and then you lose track of where you are in relation to everyone. And that's the first night where you realise actually it's a long way around the world to match race.
We're on board with Banque Populaire. Just talk us through some of that equipment that we're seeing.
Well, I was talking earlier about this is the nicest time, or this is the last time where your crew hoist your sails for you. And we see Armel driving there, and he's got his team grinding, and he's going, yeah, a little bit more, a little bit more. And he's probably having a look to see what other sails all the other skippers have got on deck as well, because it's a bit of a gameplay with the guys in the head, oh, look, they look like they're going to use that sail, they've taken that stay down. You see there, Banque Populaire's just got their Solent up, and you see Cineciel have their stay sail up as well. And so everybody's thinking about what everybody else is going to do and what's the best sail plan for their boat. It looks like it's pretty cold there. You can see Armel with a balaclava on.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is he going to be dry at any point in the next 3 months?
It's not a priority. Underneath he's dry, but it's going to be a wet few days to start with, and then it'll start warming up, and once they hit the trades, it's going to be beautiful weather, and they'll dry everything out then before they head south.
So now it's just a case of sitting and waiting for the clock to count down.
That's right. Now there's going to be
everything's...
discussions there. If you look, Cineciel's got a reef, Akina's got a reef, Gamessa's got a full main, Banque Populaire's got a full main, and I would hazard a guess that Jean Le Cam and Arnaud Bossier are there thinking, is that weather that I think is coming going to come? Do I stay with a reef or do I hoist? And they're thinking, shall I change? And they need to keep an eye on the clock because they've got to give their team enough time to make the change.
And do they go into the race with a strategy for every leg of the race, as in for each ocean and each part, or is that something you just can't predict because you don't know what the conditions are going to be?
No, what you do is you do a weather study where you know, should the weather systems look like this, the strategy would be to do this route. So you have an idea of when the weather strategy comes in, you recognise the weather systems and you fulfil that strategy. So these guys know what the next 10-day outlook is. They know the guaranteed weather for the next 5 days, and they know exactly what their strategy is. They will have run their routing and have a clear idea where the hazards are and where they need to be on boat tactics and where they go for the long game.
Now Alan's got a few questions for you, so I'll pass the microphone to him for a moment.
Thanks, Alex. I could have questions for you for days. I mean, someone who's done the Vendée Globe, obviously, you've accumulated so much knowledge. One of the concerns that a couple of skippers told me about was maintaining their fitness when they're at sea, and most specifically losing a lot of their leg muscles. I wonder what kind of fitness is part of the regime in the life of one of these sailors?
Well, it's interesting because there are the chicken legs that come in at the end of the Vendée Globe, and we come back with massive shoulders. I remember I wasn't allowed to arm wrestle anybody by the time I got back, because it is all about power, and you're grinding and keeping your upper body going, but your legs don't walk further than 60 feet at any one time. And a lot of the guys work a lot on core stability because we're our own medics. So you want to prevent illness and injury as much as possible. And due to the nature of the moving platform and the restricted space within an open 60, you're always picking big heavy sails up at awkward angles. None of this protecting your back by bending your knees. You're on your knees or you're hanging over. And so core stability is really important just to prevent that risk of injury. And then upper body strength to deal with the physicality of the boats. And then also just general fitness, because you need to be able to go through a sail change and then maybe tack the boat or drive the boat. And it's a 15-minute process. It's not a quick process.
Yeah. What about, we watch them grinding those pedestal grinders, right? And only one guy is running that offshore, or one girl. How long, and just some basic time frames, because people are watching this back home and they know how long it takes them to maybe pull up a sail on a little boat that they've sailed on the beach or in their little club or on vacation. How long does it take you to get that big sail from the bottom to the top alone?
Well, it's interesting because in theory they should never go from the bottom to the top unless there's an issue with their mainsail, because they should only go between reefs. So actually it's not that bad. In my case, I had really bad sail damage, had to do a lot of sail repairs, and I hoisted my main 8 times. And you keep yourself busy. I remember in second gear on my grinders, it's 200 revolutions of my grinder.
And you count it.
Between the second reef and the first reef. And you count things because you get to remember it, and you keep going and you keep going. But you laugh, it's like 18 minutes for a full tack with stack and ballast and sails and grinding. And for me in the Southern Ocean, a big jibe was a 45-minute affair by the time I shifted the stack, shifted all the gear and the ballast, and went for it in big breeze.
And by that time, the breeze can have changed direction, and you might not even need to do it after you've done other work.
You really hope that doesn't happen. What's really nice is the big ocean weather is quite consistent. The hard stuff is like the Bay of Biscay, where it's shifty, and you can't miss a shift or a sail change because you know the other 19 guys out there are doing it.
The last time around, Mish Dej cemented his reputation and his legend as the king of the Vendée Globe by having to turn around for an electrical issue, a regulator problem that wouldn't have let him charge his batteries for the whole race, and obviously can't be competitive then. Turn around, come back, and left with a 4-day deficit. Sailed around the fleet and finished with a 5-day win. Now, with that in mind, is it even really important that these guys win the start at all? And does it really matter that they're with the leading pack?
Well, it's a kind of feel-good factor. It's a personal kind of challenge. The start line is a massive start line, and to risk like getting it wrong at the start line when you've got so far to go, as we've seen, as you just highlighted, is just not worth the effort. So actually it's about getting the boat cleanly started and and making sure then that you just get into the system safely. We've just had breaking news. Bernard de Brock is coming back in. We don't know why that is yet, so we will keep you posted as soon as we find out.
Yeah, you know, with this wind up and down and up and down, we've seen from maybe 5 knots to maybe 15 or 20 knots already here in the last 20 minutes. It's certainly possible to have a gear failure. Bertrand de Brock's boat, he only bought in January, has had only 20 days to sail it in the entire time, so having an issue wouldn't be a surprise at all, would it, Dee?
No, and as we've seen, if he can stay out, cross the start line, he can then come back in, have plenty of time to fix it, and actually go out and still fulfil his Vendée Globe dream. So what's interesting when you said that Michel Desjoyeaux sailed around the fleet is he literally did in the South Atlantic. He went round the outside. He was a Buffalo girl beyond belief, and just went round in front of all of us.
Can it be easier at the back when you maybe can see what's happening with the fleet with your position reports and say, well, I'm not going there?
Well, it's interesting because it's a dead giveaway, as all the boats give you a complete reflection of what's going on out there, so you know from their boat speed what kind of wind speed they've got, and if you've got the ability to keep your boat sailing fast, you can avoid all the pitfalls where people are obviously slowing up for some reason.
Well, we can definitely see the crews starting to get into it now and starting to think about where they might want to start on this line, headed to somewhere off the coast of Brazil.
That's right. I mean, the first big waypoint they're aiming for is their doldrums crossing. So they deal with the St. Helena, they deal with the Azores High, and they're trying to get into the trade winds, and then they're looking at where they're going to cross the doldrums, which is much further west than everyone thinks. And then they have the southern hemisphere weather to deal with, but they're not really looking beyond the doldrums at the moment. This is their first focus.
Looking at PRB with Vincent Rioux at the helm. Now, you said that you can't get assistance from routing or whatever ashore, but these guys are, I know they're all meteorological experts. And can you explain how they find out what the weather's doing and how they form their decisions based on it?
Well, you can go online and with the satellite communications, and you download your weather files. So we get grid files, we get satellite pictures, we get wave heights, we can get ice reports. There's a lot of information out there.
Is that similar to the things that people can see at VendéeGlobe.org when they look at the tracker? When you can
so Météo France will supply the weather, and they will put some of those synoptic charts up there and some of the wind grid files up there, so you can get a feel for what the skippers are looking at when they're downloading that weather. And they're looking at running the routing. So they put it into their computers. A lot of them are running Adrena software, which is navigation and weather routing. Some of them will be running Expedition. Some of them are run Deckman, and a few will have a Maxi backup. So they're the kind of main systems that are out there that these guys are looking at. They look at the routing and then they look whether they agree with it.
So it's half electronics and half gut.
Yeah, and that's why Lady Luck plays a big part, and a feel. These guys have got a feel for the weather. You get a feel for what's going on out there, and they use the other 19 boats, every position report, to check that feeling, to see what the boats around them are experiencing.
Got it. Welcome back to Claire, and I'll pass it over to Alex as we get just a couple minutes out from the 8-minute gun.
Okay, well, we're 2 minutes to the, we reckon that we're about 2 minutes to the 8-minute gun, and that means the crews will be getting ready to get off the boats. Vincent Rioux is looking comfortable. He's looking at his watch. We're looking at our watches. We all want to know what's happened to Bertrand de Brock. We haven't had any more news, but the thing about the Vendée Globe is it's a demolition derby, and today is no exception, as we see our first casualty of the day. Oh, 7:45. Okay, so they've given the 8-minute gun. It's gone. So the crews now have got 4 minutes to get off the boat. We can see that some guys have kept their reef in, and the boats are now starting to make their way towards the start position. Hopefully it'll be a nice tidy start, and that we won't have any more casualties.
It rarely is, and with 7:30 to go, the crews on some boats, like on PRB right here, they're not running around doing all crazy things. It looks like they're already off. On some of the boats, there are crew running around hoisting. Look, there you go. Saveol, they're helping Sam through a jibe or through a tack,
They're summoning the boat. Here he goes. Get that rib over here.
And now there will be teams that their last man is jumping off seconds before the deadline for jumping off, where after which you'd get a penalty.
Yeah. But I mean, is it worth that penalty, you know, for that extra?
It's not about that. It's about, you know, got to get things done and pay attention to the watch, like in any race, in any sport. And but these are the consummate professionals, the best of the best. Almost all of these short crews have done their own mini campaigns or Tour de France à la voile.
Few bizoos, few kisses for the crew. That's it. They're getting off now. It's kind of exciting.
Now, Dee, how does she feel right now?
Oh, it's a hard point. Her head's in the race now, and but she wants to say goodbye. Roman, her partner, was part of that crew on board, so one of the last people to say goodbye to her. But she's actually now, they've done a timed run to the start line. She's now heading away. She's going to get the guys off. She knows at what time she's going to tack round and when she's going to go back out. So that's Roman just checking she's okay. Her head's in the race. She's like, yeah, see you in a few days' time, mate. Look after Ruben.
Yeah, all right, love. Feed the kids.
Thank you, honey. Love you.
Don't
See you
forget
later.
to put the cat out. He's not going there, is he? He's not listening.
Last possible moment.
He's all tied up. Oh, he's lost his shoe. Typical.
You don't want that to happen.
You don't want that.
So these guys are now on a route where they practice with their crew of a timed run away. They tack round, they come up ready for the line to go at full speed.
Oh.
And that's in that procession now. So the last people are off.
Oh, she's just dropped her husband off.
That's right. That was the last goodbye.
Yeah. As you can see, it's a really emotional moment.
They've done this so many times, either Sam saying goodbye to Roman or Roman saying goodbye to Sam. And they know exactly how each other think. They sailed together as well, so they know the score.
Yeah, I think that's right though, right? And she's, you know, this is the thing about Sam. I think that's why the French love her. She's bilingual. You know, she is absolutely a hybrid, isn't she?
Oh, no, definitely. She's got the hearts of everyone, and they've got their heads round where the other boats are, where they want to be in relation to the other boats as well. So as much as she wants to turn around and say goodbye and wave, you know, she's got other things on her mind. She's looking at Cheminée Pougelet coming in, and she's making sure she's in the right place.
That's a woman at work. Yeah, and it's good now. So it looks a bit misty, doesn't it? It's difficult to see. Maybe a bit of rain on the start line.
Euro Valley's made the decision on sails there, and he's calling that, and they're all just circling round now.
How are we doing for time?
We're at that 4 minutes, I think. Oh, coming up to the 4 minutes. 4 minutes, 15 seconds.
So everyone should be clear of crew now. Okay.
9, 8, 7, 6.
Yeah, 6 seconds now.
4,
6 seconds.
3, 2, 1. Top. 4 minutes avant le départ.
Okay,
so
the
that
skippers are
shot
on their
means,
own.
yeah, that shot means the skippers are on their own. They don't get to speak to anyone face to face now for around 3 months and 30,000 miles. It's quite daunting, but I doubt, Dee, you know, you've done this race. I doubt that they're even thinking about that, are they?
Yeah, no, it's. I remember this time now. Now it's actually exciting. I remember I needed a nervous pee about this time. Adrenaline fueled. You just want everything to happen. They're constantly looking at their watches. You can see the line on the screen there, and they're all trying to time their run so that they're not too early. Some of them are hanging back so they can accelerate faster. Some of the guys at the front are trying to slow down.
And I mean, what's the advantage of getting across the line first, if any?
Well, in a shorter race, you get the lead ahead. It's easy. When you've got 3 months ahead of you, it's all a morale boost. You know, your team are watching you. They've just spent, for some of these sponsors and teams, it's been 4 years preparation. Some the last few months of preparation, but it's all about proving that all their hard work was worth it and that you're going to deliver.
And for guys like Alex Thompson, who said in his press conference a couple of days ago that, you know, for him his priority is for his team and his family and getting round for once at his third attempt. He's not going to be risking anything on the start line.
No, and third time lucky, he's got a much bigger picture to look at. He's got to look at all the way around the world, not just this exciting start that's televised. So he wants that return down the channel. He wants that return to Le Sable d'Olonne.
Now this orange triangle at the bottom of the screen is one end of the line. The other end of the line, I'm guessing, is way out in the distance.
Okay, so between the big powerboat on the top left and the orange mark is the start line, and you can see the spectator boats trying to stay out of the way, and the ribs are channeling. the team ribs are following their boat but staying out of the way of all the others. And they're all on starboard, and so this is them set up now for the leg.
2 minutes
it's all
to
a
go.
case of just timing it with the boat speed, so they're not looking to do any manoeuvres unless they get forced into it.
And there is the line. So that's the line that they cross. That's the line that sets them off.
So at the front there we've got Quito heading towards the line, in line with Massif and Paprick. They're at the front of that lineup, but everyone else is closing in at a slightly faster speed. Sam's coming upwind, trying to find that gap so she can accelerate into it.
And I guess they can't cross the line early either.
Now, if you cross the line, you then have to turn around and go back and cross it again. So that's going to cost you time and put you behind the fleet immediately.
And that would be annoying, wouldn't it, really, at the start of a race like this?
It would be. Now, Quito's giving himself extra manoeuvres. He's actually turned around and gone back. This is the 1 minute countdown now. 3, 2, 1. 1 minute to the start line. So Quito gave himself extra manoeuvres because he knew he was going too early. We've got someone to the south of the fleet there who is also trying to kill time. Tanguy de la Motte's got his head sails flapping. Energia looks really close to the line. They're probably leading, and he's got to try and slow down.
I'm trying to count, actually, to see if they are all at the line.
So Energia's looking dead in the water there. She's having to stop. Quito's sailing round behind because he's a bit early. Everyone else is going to sail past at speed, or Energia's going to have to do something big time.
I've counted 19 boats, not 20. So that kind of confirms the news we'd heard that Bertrand de Brock is returning. But with 15 seconds to go, we've got 2 boats crossing the line early. They're going to have to turn around and come back.
This is the countdown to the start line. Quito's trying to go down.
They're off. The Vendée Globe is underway. Some of the biggest names in yachting, some of the upcoming talent too, are taking on Mother Nature solo and non-stop around the globe.
Okay, if we just look at boat speed on the line there, we can see Initiative Kerr is very to the south, but he's got good boat speed. Further up, Massif's having to go back. You can see that by the way they're coming back in, zigzagging in between the other boats. They've got to go, they were early. PRB got a great start there, really good speed, and Safran's right on his hip. Banque Populaire, I'm not sure if he was over early or not.
It's an extraordinary vision, an extraordinary shot from the camera helicopter. And it's the start of 3 months. 3 months of adventure and danger.
And
excitement.
Really,
and excitement.
This is fabulous. This is what they wanted to do, and I'm actually struggling to speak and watch at the same time because I'm just coming back with like loads of emotions. I was so excited to start this race that I've prepared for and worked so hard for, and I'm almost welling up because I know exactly what they're about to go and do, and it is awesome. Go on, Sam, give it some. Okay, so this is the call on the VHF by the race committee of who was over early. PRB turned immediately after they heard their name. Quito at the bottom here, Group Bell, they're turning back. Energia just above him, he's turning back as well. And they had to go back and recross the line because they were over early.
Dee, does it surprise you that so many of the fast boats, of the top racers, are turning back and going back for the line?
I'm surprised that second line, that Massif and PRB actually went for it. You know, they actually had space, they could have killed a bit of time. Quito was putting himself up there all the time and he didn't quite pull it back.
I don't think I've ever seen a quarter of the fleet in an around the world race get called for over early. These guys are a lot more aggressive than we thought.
And actually, if you look at who did get called back early, they're all the big guns, and you know they're not holding back. And now they've basically given themselves 2 massive manoeuvres, but a lot of wasted energy and time. He'll be fuming at that.
So basically, these guys who have to go back are giving the fleet a head start of 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, and getting back up to speed and setting it all up again. You can see like how slow is he going downwind to try and get back into the race.
What a spectacle, though. Unbelievable to see these guys tearing off into the distance. When will they go for a bigger sail, or do they just crack off and go?
Well, this forecast that they're looking at, they're pretty much, they're going to be able to crack a few degrees, maybe have some outside leads and just hot foot it down to the corner at Finisterre, and then it'll be after that they go for the big downwind sails unless that wind changes.
Now, is that Safran with that big lead?
Yeah, and look at that. And he was next to PRB, and PRB got caught. And look how slow it is for them to go back to that line. And all the time, all the boats are sailing away from them.
Well, a tough start for some of the top French talent. Not something you expect to see.
That won't be the start that PRB, Vincent Rieu, would have wanted. He'd be disappointed with that massively. There was a really good start from Louis Burton, which was, you know, a new rookie to the game. Got it well, and Cheminade Pougelet there is going well in those seas.
Now, we've seen a lot of Vendée Globes where the first couple of days kill boats and send people back to land. With this forecast, is this a nice way for them to ease into it? And how long can they expect before things get ugly, either in a strong way or a weak way?
I know this is good. I mean, this is good to the point where even the shore teams are going to wave their guys off and actually go and have a beer and relax, confident that they shouldn't be coming back. The first 48 hours is always quite nervous because there's every chance that if something breaks or something goes wrong, they can come back and get it fixed. But on this forecast, they're pretty confident there's not many manoeuvres, and you only really mess things up or break things if you try too hard on a manoeuvre. Going in a straight line, they should be pretty good, and it's going to be fast until they get to that ridge that they just need to negotiate. So the crews will be pretty happy. They'll have a couple of drinks tonight, I'm sure. And the skippers can get into a routine really quickly. You can see there the clouds and the rain lines are quite split up, so they're now going to negotiate where they're going to put their boat in relation to that so they don't lose any of the wind.
Looks like, who was that? Was that Group Bell coming back over the line? And Safran just edging out, pulling out more and more over Dominique Vabre on Mirabeau behind him. Really doing a nice job on Safran.
There is, and actually that surprise at the front there is Louis Burton, just to windward of Safran. He's had a great start.
Interesting positioning. He must have started right at the top of the line.
And maybe he's just footed off a bit. You can see they're going out of some big surf that's coming into the bay. That will soon die down as they head out the bay and it gets more comfortable.
Now, how long will this big, look at this, look at these shots. There are over 100 support boats, and there are another 40 camera and press boats, and then there are another 500 to 1,000 of all of these different boats. How long will these guys follow? I mean, how far can you go to sea following an open 60?
Well, and some of them are small ribs that are out there in these waves. And you can see how much the water's churned up, and most of it's by the support boats, which is another reason things get flatter once everybody leaves these guys to sail around the world. But these guys are accelerating all the time, and eventually everybody will struggle to keep up with them. And actually they'll want to come straight back in and check that all the instruments are reading back to the team and all the communications they set up are working.
We see Bernard helming his boat, but we know autopilots are a big part of this. When will they go to the autopilots?
Well, there's a bit of a mixture now. There's probably a little bit of, I'll drive for a bit, how does it feel? Okay, put the autopilot on, I'll tweak a little bit, I'll just trim it a little bit. Because they can see the other boats right next to them, it's a really good gauge to see how their boat speed is. So they're going to be playing all the time, and they'll be doing that pretty much the 24 hours. It won't be until they're in consistent conditions a little way away so they can't see the other boats that they're kind of get into a routine with the pilot. So they're having a look around, the pilot's driving, they're getting confidence, and they can do a little tweak here and a tweak there.
Bubi Senso in a nice position too to leeward of Safran.
That's good. He'll enjoy this strong breeze because his boat's actually quite heavy with the wiring he's got with the...
and extra batteries and the solar controllers.
That's right, all the new power that he's got going on in a new built boat, but it's quite heavy as a result, so he'll enjoy the stronger conditions.
Jeremy Bayou to windward of Verbeek Paprec. And I think most of the skippers look like they're settling down already. Obviously relieved to have all the stresses of shore behind them, and now just the last stress is to make sure some spectator boat doesn't hit them. And that's why you see the little ribs of the little motorboats around them, is to keep any of the spectators away, and these spectators will creep closer and closer as the fleet spreads out.
And so now this is the time in the race to start, as the fleet is still together, we're going to start, you're going to start following the race. And so obviously the place to go to follow the race is the Vendée Globe website at www.vendeeglobe.org/en. And stay in touch with us on Facebook at facebook.com/Vendée Globe, and to forward us and to follow us on Twitter at Vendée Globe. Now, it's really important that you stay in touch with us during the race. We want to know who your favourite skipper is. We want to know, you know, what you think about their life. But we want you to share this tale, you know, because this race is all about their journey and following their journey and bringing other people into the journey as well. You know, as you can see, the race is anyone's at this stage. The fleet is really close together. We know that Vincent Rio is going to be really cross. I mean, I spoke to him at the beginning of the week, and he said the most important thing for him was the start. You know, he likes to have a good start, a strong lead, put him in the right frame of mind. He will not be happy with that. But I think Acciona's been a bit of a surprise. What do you say, Alan?
You know, Booby was really keened up this morning, very excited, and he's an incredibly competitive man, and really eager to showcase this technology that he believes in. I mean, this whole team is fully behind sustainable energy, and Acciona, a wind power manufacturer, a turbine manufacturer, really believes in him, and they're very anxious to prove this concept while hopefully taking some scalps.
This is second Vendée Globe, right?
Yeah.
And 12 years ago, so it's quite, you know, a bit long in the tooth, really, to be coming back onto this course. But there is something about the Vendée Globe that keeps bringing people back. You know, it's a bit of a bête noire in some way, isn't it?
Boy,
you know?
even when they don't race it, they have to be here. And this is, I wanted to add too that the Vendée Globe game, the virtual regatta game, is something that deserves your time. If this looks exciting to you, not only can you race against these boats that are on the screen as you race, but you can actually race against Michel Desjoyeux, who will be playing under his own name.
Yeah.
And the winner gets this fabulous prize where they send, I don't know the brand, and I probably should, but I don't know the brand, they send a very beautiful, you know, maritime watch with one of these skippers all the way around the world, and the winner of the Vendée Globe game gets that watch.
Brilliant. It's
Really,
brilliant.
really nice.
So it's about getting on board the Vendée Globe now. The fleet
Exactly
runs
right.
away. The spectators are coming back. We've had a good start. I think everyone, you know, this has been a good Vendée Globe start. We've already had our first damaged boat, you know, not even before the start gun. Typical Vendée Globe, you know, you never know what you don't know until it happens, right? It's a race full of surprises. It's a mythical adventure. These guys are going on the quest of a lifetime. And you know what? You know, I worked for Mike Golding in 2004. He came in third, and he said, I never have to do this race again. And yet in 2008, he was back, and in 2012, he was back. And I would put money on him being back in 2016.
The average is about 6 weeks after they get back until they realize that they actually want to do it again.
There's something about this race that you know, no matter how much you prepare for it, you can never prepare. I feel like having children, really. No matter how much you prepare for it, you can never prepare for the Vendée Globe. So remember, it's time to get on board. I'm just gonna keep plugging at that Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Vendée Globe. Follow us on Twitter at Vendée Globe, #uppercase VG 2012. And over to Alex.
I'm just admiring Safran powering away at the head of the fleet, and the sponsor involved in aerospace and technology, and also involved in the design and build of the boat, and maybe that's got something to do with it. Only time will tell. 3 months to be exact. Dee Kafari watching in the studio with us, and there's a glint in your eye. Do you wish you were out there?
It's emotional. I would love to have been here with my head in a race on a boat and you talking about me, but I'm not. And actually, I'm probably in the best seat in the house, being here without a boat.
What, sitting with us three?
Sitting with you three, of course, but actually being able to see it. And at times when they left the channel, you saw the skippers' faces, and I actually got quite choked up. But actually seeing this start countdown was what got me going. I was getting excited, and I was thinking about what I would be doing. And it's just great. It's great to see these boats sailing off, and you know, they're there thinking, tracked it. You know, Alex is there going, I've started this race, I don't have a jobs list. He's loving this moment right now. It is true. And you know, they've all got their own reason for being there and their own thing they want to achieve from going around the world. Some of them will want to go and win it. Some of them will want to go for an adventure of a lifetime. Some will want to go and prove the critics wrong. Some will want to go and prove technology, and some are having an adventure, and they're going to share it. All 20 stories will be shared with us over the next 3 months, and it's really unique and very special. and the different levels that they're shared and the honesty that's shared is very special as well.
And the great thing about the fact that it's happening today, you know, in a modern world with modern technology, is we've heard from Claire all the different ways you can keep in touch with the race, and keep in touch you will, because the updates will come in regularly. They come off daily off the boats, and that is one of the jobs that these skippers are obliged to do.
That's right, the media requirements go up as technology increases, but this is what ocean racing is about now, actually taking people on the adventure.
Is it a
with us.
pain for them? You know, when
it has its moments. It's really hard, and it's a balance, because you actually are out there doing what you love, and the reason you love it is because you're in this amazing special environment that not many people witness. But actually one of our jobs is to communicate it and share it with everybody, and that's the reason the sponsors allow us to have these races and these projects, is because we can take their name, their messaging, and send it around the world, and everyone can go on this adventure. Everyone's going to feel every pain that Alex is going to feel, and every highlight he's going to feel, you know, as we watch Hugo Boss sail off there. He's looking pretty relaxed.
Now, you know, you have modems at home, right? That's how we get our broadband. But the modem on an Open 60 has got increasingly smaller. We can see at the back of Alex's boat there's like a little mushroom, and that's basically his ADSL modem, isn't it? How do you send images and pictures back from the boats?
Well, you're looking for a link up, so you're looking for a satellite link from your little dome on your boat, and it goes up into space, links with a satellite, and connects down on land. And you're streaming your video or your photos, or sending your emails, or receiving your weather information. And sometimes it works really well, really quickly, and sometimes you're in places where the connection's really weak, or the weather makes it really difficult, or your boat's on the wrong tack and things aren't really happy in the conditions. So it's not a foolproof plan, but it's amazing the way technology has moved forwards. It really does allow us. I mean, the fact that we're sending high definition video back in these days is incredible.
But if you imagine how frustrated we get at home if we don't have a good internet connection, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be in the middle of the Southern Ocean if you can't get online, right?
Well, sometimes it's hilarious, because you just go, oh well, look at that, it doesn't work, and you don't actually work that hard to try and fix it. Yet the whole world is wanting you to do a live link and a conference, and they don't appreciate that actually you've gone cold and things are pretty bad and you're going to really struggle to tell your story. So it's that management of, you understand what your job is out there, but sometimes it's actually quite nice for things just to fail and for you not to have to do that interview at a really inopportune time.
And of course, the cost of sending video and pictures back, it's not cheap, is it? You know, it's not like, you know, if you think about, I think about sending data from France, that's fairly expensive, but you know, how much does it cost to send high definition video back from the Southern Ocean?
It is huge, and it is one of the debilitating factors actually for communication of this race, because the technology is there, but it's so extreme and quite unique that it's still really, really expensive. And once those costs start to come down, we will see much more footage and coverage being able to be achieved, and TV streams will have confidence to use that footage, because it's almost more guaranteed. And we see that in other races that have broadband and internet support, where it's open channels and therefore so much more coverage can come back. So it's developing in the sport slowly, but it's something that needs to trickle down through all channels of the sport.
And who foots that bill? I mean, where does the cost come?
These costs come as part of the campaign. So all of these skippers have their project and they have their sponsor on board, and it's one of those costs that have to be met within that sponsorship budget. So it's quite hard, you know, obviously the more money there is, the more you can invest in the communications. So it really depends on where their priority is within their sponsorship of what they want to achieve. And it's hard sometimes, because there are some great characters in there that are fabulous at sharing stories. And I think the best one that everybody talks about is Samantha, just that ability to share her passion genuinely for everything she does. And there may not be as much video coming back for her this year, just because her budget's a little restricted.
And how long does it take to send a bit of HD video? Like 2 minutes of video, how long would you be sat at your computer?
God. It is painful. You send it to send and receive, and you can go and make yourself your dinner and a cup of tea and go and trim your sails, and it's still trying to trickle down. It is painful, and everybody goes, well, just send it back, or just send this. Have you got a better quality? And you're like, you're kidding me. Do you know how difficult this is to make this go, and how time consuming it is? Not only to kind of take a bit of video and edit it down, but actually then go through the painful process of watching this thing trickle along your computer to try and go.
When you're cold and hungry and tired, and some PR bird on the Iridium phones you out and goes, can you send 2 minutes of video for BBC?
Yeah, and it's really nice to have some stuff in the bag from your other sailing, like when you've been training or racing, and that's kind of like your get out clause. Should something fail or it not be possible. We have spent a lot of time in the preparation, these skippers will have spent a lot of time in the preparation getting stock footage and stock photos that can be used in an emergency, but ideally what they want is the real stuff as it happens. So, and you can talk about a drama, something really bad happened, and they go, brilliant, did you film it? Which is why it's compulsory to have 3 fixed cameras on the boat, because ideally we are using our hands to deal with the drama at the time. So the last thing you think about is picking up a video camera and going, oh, I must tell everybody what's happening. So the idea is to have the fixed camera, you press the button and it films it while you're in your horrendous mess sorting it out, and then everybody will get to see a bit of the dramas.
Well, we have done some incredible things with lives, though. I mean, I remember in the Vellet's Five Oceans when Alex sank Hugo Boss, that we actually managed to put the cameras on live as he stepped off the boat, and we filmed him climbing into the life raft. Although it does seem a little bit sort of Machiavellian almost to you sort of, on some level, I think, from this side of the race, it's very difficult to say to a skipper, I know that you're having the most harrowing time of your life, but can you please make sure you put your cameras on?
But that's why we talk about it being a solo race, but actually it's a very big team that's behind this skipper going out there doing this adventure, because you have to have complete trust and understanding from your team at home that are trying to do the best for the sponsorship and your project and communication, even though you're tired, hungry, cold, miserable, and potentially not in the best place in your head when things are going wrong. And they need to gently prompt you to remind you to write about it or send a photo or deliver the footage. And it is difficult, but it's amazing. You know, Safran was saying here 4 years ago, he was there circling Generali when Jan Elias was injured south of Australia, and he was there trying to throw drugs and water to Jan into his cockpit and filming him, the boat there, as he was waiting for the Australian Navy to rescue him. He will have memories of that, and he'll probably be choked up south of Australia when he goes past that point in memory. And again, we have that footage from Vincent Rioux as he rescues Jean Le Cam looking at an upturned open 60 just south of Cape Horn with no keel. You know, it's probably one of the saddest pictures anyone's ever seen, and to know that someone was alive in there needing rescue. You know, it's incredibly emotional stuff that happens on this race at different times, and we do have the ability to share it now, and I think that's really important so people understand why the passion of this race is how it is.
And they're actually recognising that in the awards outside of the prize money, because we have the Sodebo Emotion Prize, which will reward the skippers' human values and their ability to share their adventure. It will be based on the values of pleasure, sharing and conviviality. So that's kind of, you know, I mean, obviously Sam's going to be a top runner for that one. And also there's the Sodebo Pugnacity Prize as well. So for all those pugnacious skippers out there, and which is going to be the boldest, it will be awarded to the boldest and most committed yachtsman as a recognition of the adventure, which will doubtless be appreciated by the prize winner. Not that anybody goes into the Vendée Globe to be the most emotional skipper, right? It's not like on their job list.
No, and these guys, you know, they're so tenacious. By nature of being a solo skipper, you're tenacious and doggedly determined to overcome any challenge or obstacle that's thrown at you. And so naturally, by the nature of that, you're not that openly emotional, which is why some of the skippers seem quite closed to people when they interview, and it takes a little while to learn the person and press the right buttons to get the right reactions.
Well, Jean-Pierre Dick talked to me about his inner monologue. Well, although obviously he didn't phrase it like that. That's my interpretation of what he said. But he said quite often he talks to himself, inside himself. And I think, you know, when you spend that time alone, you have this tendency to become more insular, which obviously is difficult when you're trying to express your race outside, you know, thousands of miles away from, you know, any real sort of physical human contact. He talked about the devil that sat on one shoulder and the angel that's out, and he would have conversations with himself during the race. I mean, do you talk to yourself?
Oh, I'm amazing at talking to inanimate objects. I don't actually need two-way conversation very often. That's probably why I got a great face for radio. You're looking at PRB here, and he's having an inner monologue now as we talk, thinking, I can't believe I just messed that start up and now I've lost all that ground. And now he's plugging away, watching the fleet in front of him. But that's almost going to give him even more determination. Sam's now having a last wave at her spectator boat. So the boat's on pilot, she's happy, she's sorted. she's aware that her spectator boat are going to turn away, so she's stood on the deck giving it a wave.
So she'll be going down for a bit of dairy milk soon, I think, won't she?
Oh, no, that's later in the present.
She won't go early, you don't think?
She's really well behaved. And the thing is, if you get all your treats early, you've got nothing for the end of it.
Yeah, and also obviously we've got, obviously I'm going to go back once again to how many ways you can follow the race. You can follow us on Facebook /Vendée Globe. You can follow us on Twitter @Vendée Globe, #uppercase VG 2012, and you can follow us on vendeglobe.org /EN. And also for your children, you've got the Vendée Globe Junior program, which is a full education pack about the adventure of the seas, because these boats are going to traverse some of the craziest oceans, right? There's different points in the oceans. There's this bit where the oceans like have steam bubbles coming out of them. Do you know what?
Yeah, we don't get to spend too much time in the nice bits. That's for sure. It feels like we're always in the bad bits. But you see there the rudder lifted, the windward rudder's lifted on Cheminée Pougelet. That's to reduce drag. So that's the controversial decision of whether you want kick-up rudders or not, because if something was to happen to his boat unexpected and they accidentally jibe, he'll be on the other jibe with the rudder not in the water. So it's that controversial
Will you
issue.
take a spare rudder with him?
Some of these skippers will have the opinion of taking a spare rudder. Some of them will say, if I'm doing that, then I've already lost. So it's a hard one. It's been proved several times on every race that somebody has changed their rudder at sea.
Well, Conrad Humphreys famously in 2004, didn't he?
Hume has done it in the Volvo race. Another sailor did it while sailing in the Southern Ocean on the Vendée Globe. So you kind of don't want that to be a reason to end your race when it's easily rectified. Just seeing now the spectator boats are just trying to get their last wave at their skipper and then they'll lead them to it. It's hard for the spectators to go back because they obviously want to give them lots of love and be with them all the time. But the practicalities, they actually have to come back to port, and it's a long way behind them now because they've been so busy following these boats out to sea.
Dee, as you look at this and think back to your Vendée Globe experience, which would you say are the most feared parts of ocean?
Probably the most frustrating is the doldrums, because the door can shut on you as everybody else sails by and you just miss that window of opportunity with that breeze. It's that really difficult area in the middle of the Atlantic where you're trying to get from the northern weather system to the southern weather system.
And they cancel each other out.
Yeah, and you've just got that no man's land in the middle and you're trying to cross it at the narrowest gap, but literally 100 yards away somebody can get a rain cloud that takes them through and you're sat wallowing. So I find the no wind scenarios actually more frustrating than the loads of wind, because actually that gives you something to get your teeth into and deal with. Floating around, working really hard, getting nowhere can be really, really demoralising.
And what about from the point of view of danger?
It has to be the Southern Ocean, just by its remoteness and how hostile it can be. You're at the furthest point of rescue at any time on the planet. At one point, we got here now images
this is,
of
Bertrand de Brock, yes, who we understand is returning to port. He's certainly near the start line, so he's gone nowhere. We don't know what's wrong with the boat yet, but clearly it's something that he'll hope that his shore crew can fix by coming back. And let's face it, it wouldn't be the first time that a skipper has turned back in the early stages and got his boat
we also
fixed.
see there Energer actually crossed the start line and now has his shore crew back on. So he's crossed the start line, he'll be coming back in to fix something and then hopefully
so we're down to 18 boats.
So we've had the race running now for 27 minutes and the fleet has gone from 20 to 18 at the moment. But there's every chance that those two boats, Energer and Your Name Around the World, will head back out once they fix their issues.
Well, the thing about Bertrand de Brock, I mean, this is his third attempt and he's never finished one yet. You know, the first one he injured himself quite dramatically. In 1996 he got a damaged keel just 2 days into it. So not the luckiest sailor when it comes to the Vendée.
For his Vendée Globe history for sure, but his sailing in between has been phenomenal with his Figaro racing and his mini racing. He's never kind of been out of the game, so that's why everyone's really pleased to see him back. He's part of the history and it's that'll never change. Jean-Pierre is one of the favourites here. He's actually got an unlucky Vendée history, an extremely successful Barcelona World Race, so he wants to get rid of that double-handed crown and actually claim a solo crown, which he's yet to do. He's double-handed in the TJV victory, double-handed Barcelona World Race victory twice, and has just not managed to get a Route de Rhum or a Vendée Globe victory. So he wants to go out there and prove that he can do it solo.
We're hearing that Bertrand de Brock has got a damaged boat, but we don't know any more than that at the moment. So we'll let you know as soon as we get any more information. We're focusing on Paprec and
one of the race favourites.
And Mark Golding in Gamesa, and Mirabeau with Dominic Wavre there. But up ahead are the two race leaders.
Safran and Cheminade Pougelet
Yeah.
had great starts, and they're there leading by quite some way. But Mike would be really happy to be close to Jean-Pierre Dick. He'd be happy with that. He's in the top 5. He'll want to stay in the lead group all the way. As he said, he just wants to enter the Southern Ocean in contention, and then once he's down there, he's in his favourite place where he's really confident and he knows he can do some damage.
Physically, when does it start to take its toll?
18 months ago in the preparation for the race. At the moment now, these guys have been pretty tired. The 3 weeks of Race Village, the first week's great fun, the second week they get a bit of a break, but this final week, no matter how prepared you are, everything always gets rammed into the last week, so they're actually quite tired. They've done their media requirements, they've had quite an emotional time saying goodbye to their team and their loved ones. There's Sam hydrating there, making sure she's looking after herself in these first few hours. And now they've got this weather and the pressure of the race and the stress and that, and actually they're thinking, right, I need to manage myself. And the physicality, they don't actually have a sail change. It's not like they've got a big manoeuvre to do or a big sail change to do in the next 24 hours. So this is really nice for them. They're straight line sailing. They're trying to stay on the pace, and it's quite nice for them to get into the race and manage themselves.
Even people coming to sailing for the first time will remember Ellen MacArthur when she competed, and will remember the emotional and physical strain on her and the pieces that she was sending back from her boat. At what point do you get like that? Because it's not unique to Ellen.
It isn't unique to Ellen, but it's everyone's different and everyone handles it different. When I went the wrong way around the world, I was very emotional, and I had this huge emotional roller coaster going on. And I realised after I worked in preparation for the Vendée Globe, getting a sports psychologist on board, that I had to manage myself and not waste all this extra energy on all this unnecessary emotion. So these guys work, you know, sports psychologist is part of the preparation with these guys, and they will be able to manage themselves. So it's less of this extreme high or extreme low, and they're actually much more level-headed people, just because they just have to deal with whatever's thrown at them.
For those of you especially involved in the Energa team who are probably a little bit worried by the fact that we were suggesting they'd withdrawn, they haven't actually. Gutek is very much still on board and in control and going in the right direction. That was a second boat that we saw with the same livery. So we are still 19 boats to the good in this edition of the Vendée Globe.
In fact, it's a good chance to tell you about the fact that Gutek had fully intended to compete in the boat that he sailed in the Velux 5 Oceans race, a much older boat, until he got his hands on Alex Thompson's old Hugo Boss, a much newer, much faster boat. So they still have the old boat that they've got VIPs and guests on it, and that's why we saw that Energa boat milling around, because it was not racing. So Gutek's still out there, folks, and it looks like Louis is still doing well up to windward as Bernard Stam begins to reel in Mark Guillemot, it looks like.
Yeah, come on, Bernard Stam. He's my favourite. I've got my sweepstake money on him. I don't know what's your top 3 then, Alan?
I made a bit of a bold pick. It's on there on sailinganarchy.com if anyone wants to check it out. We got pretty detailed into it. I picked my top 5, but my top 3 were a bit of I'm the only one who was picking it, but Alex Thompson. I felt that Alex had something special in his eyes this time that I'd never seen before, and he's always proven fast. Instead of getting a boat that maybe was too much of a compromise or too much suited to something that maybe he was and now isn't. He got a much better rounded boat, the old Veolia, the old BT, and I think Alex has something to prove right now. So that was my first. Jeremy Bayou was my second, and sort of alternating for third, but I think Jean Le Cam might pull it out.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, do you think that this could be the non-French year? I mean, the French have dominated this race. There's never been won by a non-French person. You know, my feeling is if Stan was to win it, then the French would accept that because he's Swiss and he speaks French. I just don't think they'd like it if a Brit was to win it. You know, it'd be that kind of whole Bradley Wiggins thing all over again.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Alex win it because if Bernard wins it, the Swiss are almost French, They really are, and a lot of these big boats but they are in
just like to apologise to all the Swiss.
They're sont des bons cousins. They're good cousins, and they're almost French, and they're accepted in this community. But definitely the British is a different story. They're accepted and they're loved, but they're British, and there's no denying the rivalry and the centuries of history.
Nobody really loves the British, though, do they? No, they look at this squall here. There's definitely some rain. There's rain ahead.
I think they can. It's not going to be all easy sailing, that's for sure.
Well, Biscay can be fickle anyway, can't it?
Sure.
And as you come up to Cap Finisterre as well, it can always get a bit blowy. So now I think it's. Do you know what though? The Vendée Globe is always anybody's race, and Safran's powering ahead. I think that's really impressive. Safran is the boat that you see the crews on the pontoons staring at a lot.
She is undeniably sexy with a titanium keel fin that I don't think anyone's ever done before. It was made in 2 pieces and then warm welded together in some way that's so exact and so precise that you couldn't duplicate it in any other way. It's microscopically precise. Fascinating engineering from the
and
from
to be
the
a little bit
military
girly, it's
engineers.
got a kind of like a really nice finish, isn't it? It's quite
It's very
polished.
pretty.
Yeah, it is. I think she's a good-looking. Well, she/he is a good-looking boat. I'm impressed. I've got my money on the Safran boat, and Marc Guillaume is a good sailor and he's hungry and. He really wants it. I just think this is the year for the non-French, but I could be wrong, and I'm being really bold. So I don't know. I'm going to hand over to Dee because I want to know what Dee's top 3 are.
We're just in a headphone tangle. We're back now. Acciona now heading out. Who's my money on? It's a $1 million question. The really nice thing with the Vendée Globe is you can't predict it because anything happens to anyone at any time. And 20 boats left the dock, not 20 boats will finish this race. Sinicial there, Jean Le Cam with the reef in. Different types of power ratios with these boats. Some of them are better with a reef, they will go just as fast and not fall over so much. There's some gusts out there with these squalls and clouds, and you can see them picking up some of the shots you saw picking up. You still want to know who my money's on, don't you? Top 3. Do you know what? I really hope Jean Le Cam gets rid of this double-handed hang-up and actually proves he does it solo. I'd love for him to do well. He's obviously got a really exciting project ahead of him when he comes back. And bless Mike. He needs to do it. He's had a 3rd place and still he's come back for more. So he really wants to do it. Again, hydrating there. I'm really struggling to put my money on someone. I listened to Jan Elias
We've got 2 names,
interview.
so a 3rd name.
I know, I just keep shoving names out there and forget like 1, 2, 3. But Jan had his money on Armel, and his outsider chance was on Jeremy Bayou. And actually everyone forgets about Jeremy, and he's got an amazing boat. He's got huge amounts of experience, and he had a really unfortunate Vendée Globe 4 years ago, which meant that he had to stop in South America. So he'll be out to show, and he's got a cushion of knowing what his project is for the next 4 years. So this is all going to build up probably towards the next Vendée. So he won't take as big a risk on this one, I wouldn't imagine. I obviously love Gomessa because she's a sister ship, and I know she can do it, and I know she's fast. But look at that, Alex smiling at sea. You don't see that very often.
Do you know, I was looking at an earlier shot on board of him, and he just looked at peace with the world. He completely in his element, relaxed, calm.
Very different
He's
place.
just suddenly gone to my top of the list for me.
Oh yeah, Mr. Clean's done some work on you there, sitting you two together.
Naturally followed by Mike Golding, in second place, and then it would have to be Sam Davies.
Oh, that's what we like. True British concern there.
So we'll see what happens. We were talking earlier, Dee, about lack of sleep. Obviously, sleep is important for your health. We've seen them drinking and hydrating. What about food? Is it all freeze-dried?
Food, well, the first few days they would have taken fresh food, so they would have done a supermarket sweep in the last few days and got their fresh food sorted. Maybe put some pre-made fresh sandwiches and some pasta dishes together, so they haven't got to worry about doing anything. They can just literally fuel themselves. They'll have fresh fruit on board and...
what, for the whole journey?
No, just for these first few days. So actually they're living as normal as possible before they make that transition as the weather temperatures increase and they get into the routine, and then they fill into their freeze-dried and pre-packed food bags as they go round. So the first few days is kind of like that transition where there's a bit of freeze-dried, but there's a bit of like the nice stuff that they
on the crewed round the world races. I know that it's one person's responsibility to go and do the cooking, which involves basically pouring hot water on the freeze-dried stuff. How do they find time to do it when they're solo?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I used to often run my food around my weather. So when the weather was downloading, you can put the kettle on, set up to download, which is normally an email download and a weather download. And then by the time all the information was in, I could sit and have a good look at it and study of it while I was eating my freeze-dried food. So some meal times work really well with eating time. Meal times and weather times work really well. Other times it's a case of not waiting till you're hungry, but actually just getting in a routine so that you're trying to eat your 3 meals a day, because it's quite hard to consume enough fuel for the amount of energy you're expending. It seems to be easy when enjoying the hospitality of Les Sables here on holiday. I think my waistline is enjoying my holiday, but when you're out there working hard, it's important to maintain your energy and to make sure you're consuming all the calories you need.
And there is Bertrand de Brock being brought back up the canal to his berth here at Les Sables d'Olonne. So disappointment for the Frenchman in his third attempt at the Vendée Globe. Doesn't mean it's all over for him, of course. We don't know what the problem is at this stage. That information hasn't come back to us yet, but they'll be trying to fix it, and if they can, of course, he'll be off again and we'll have plenty of time to catch the fleet. You'll be glad to, well, I was going to say, you'll be glad to know that we will not be sitting here commentating for the next 26,000 miles. So I'd just like to hear finally from Dee, just really, what's the thing you're most looking forward to for in this race?
Just following the stories of all the skippers. There's 20 stories out there, and they're all going to explain it in a different way. And as we build up, we'll follow this race and experience this trip around the world with each of them, the highs and the lows, and the amazing feats they're going to go through. And they're going to come back right here to Les Sables d'Olonne in a few months' time and sail up this emotional channel.
I'll tell you what I'm most excited about, Dee, is to watch things like we're watching right now with Louis. He's overpowered, he's changing his sails, and I just love the excitement of this race. There's going to be so much excitement going all the way around the world. I want to tell you, too, as much as fun as it's going to be to watch it on VendéeGlobe.org and Facebook and all the other great avenues, check out Sailing Anarchy. We're going to have in-depth coverage. We've already got some great interviews, exclusive world-first interviews in English with Jean Le Cam. And get to the finish. You want to see another spectacle? Get here to the finish or to the award ceremony on the beach with 100,000 people. It's like nothing else. And of course, 2016, this is where you have to be. If you're a fan of sailing or a fan of adventure, get here. This is it.
That's right. That is right, Alan, actually. Do you know, 2016, make it your mission to come and experience the electric start that is the Vendée Globe. I'm going to say it one more time. You need to get on board this race, because I can guarantee in 4 hours' time, when the next position report comes in, this fleet's going to look very different. So get yourself down to vendeglobe.org/en. Follow the race on Facebook /Vendée Globe. Follow us on Twitter @Vendée Globe, #uppercase VG 2012. I just want to say thanks very much for joining us for the Vendée Globe live start. I'm going to hand over to Alex to wrap us up.
Yeah, and thanks also to Alan Block then and Dee Kafari. It's been a real insight into the race. Fascinating stuff. And look forward to continuing the conversation later. But Safran powering ahead of the fleet at the moment. A long way to go, though. And as well as all the dangers you can imagine they face, they've got mental, physical exhaustion, hunger, loneliness, real hardship. But hey, they do it for the love of yachting, they do it for the love of sailing, and they do it for our entertainment. So
and they
make
also
sure
do it to try and conquer the Everest of the seas, you know, and it's no small feat, that's for sure.
So we'll leave you with that image. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. From me, Alec Wilkinson, and the rest of the team, it's goodbye.